we left off the conversation talking about, Jedi, the Jedi religion. What did Jedi believe? And I think that's even a big conversation. We've had a past episode, and I'll put in the show notes where we talk about, are the Jedi too legalistic?
Right.
And, are they really the problem? And they're the reason why Anakin, fell to the dark side. It was because of their legalism. It was an interesting conversation. But for me, and I've read the canon books, I know a little bit about Star Wars. I think one of my biggest kind of gaps in knowledge when it comes to Star Wars, and this is really trying just to have a conversation about trying to fill that gap.
Yeah.
And so some of you listening, you're much more knowledgeable than I am. So please direct message us at Twitter, let us know, email us. But it's really, I'm trying to make sense of the Sith. Like, are they really that bad? What is it in their teaching that's going wrong? And so I wanted to start off, and I just finished the Darth Bane trilogy of books, which they're legend books, I get it. But we do know that Bane is a canon character. He does show up in sort of a spirit form in the Clone Wars series, the very, very last season.
Right.
So we know Darth Bane is a legit guy, and in fact, on the actual StarWars.com website, Darth Bane, this is what it says about Darth Bane: an ancient and legendary Sith Lord. It was Darth Bane who saw that the Sith traditions of old were ultimately a dead end. All too often, squabbling Sith in their bid for power upended carefully laid plans. After the Sith were decimated by the Jedi Knights of 1,000 years ago, Bane enacted the Sith Rule of Two, which we see in the prequels. There would be only two active Sith at one time, a Dark Lord to embody the power and an apprentice to crave it. These Sith would operate in the shadows, favoring guile and conspiracy to bring down their opponents rather than brute force. That is, until it was time to rise and subjugate the galaxy.
Right.
And Palpatine essentially brings that about. Right. So Bane is a huge, just a very important character. I would love it if there was a Darth Bane TV show. Like, that would be epic. And you just retell those novels, put it on Netflix, 3 10-episode seasons, boom, I'm there. It's excellent storytelling, and by far, for me, it's probably the best series I've read in Star Wars. Here is the Sith Code. And so the question I want to ask you guys is, when you read it, I don't necessarily disagree with anything, but maybe I'm missing something.
Great.
Am I a closet Sith Lord? I don't know.
Revealed, Jeremy has been.
So I want to ask this question, like, for you, what's off about the Sith Code or the Sith, and this was taught by Darth Bane. So here's the Sith Code. Peace is a lie. There is only passion. Through passion, I gain strength. Through strength, I gain power. Through power, I gain victory. Through victory, my chains are broken. The Force shall free me. For you, what stands out? What's off about the code? Like, what am I not seeing here? What am I missing?
Well, after probably the second year of repeating this in the mirror every day, so I get ready to teach high schoolers.
Yes.
There is no peace.
Okay. All teachers, you must recite the Sith Code.
So true.
Okay.
I think you bring up a couple of questions. I think you're very phrasing what's so bad about the Sith. In and of itself is interesting phrasing, right? Like, so what's so bad about it?
What's so bad about
we can
these
be
guys?
A little bad, right?
We can kill a few people.
Annihilate a temple full of young children.
But it wasn't, it wasn't his
it's for the greater cause.
Yeah.
The greater good.
I think that this is very, very reminiscent of a couple things. Like, I hear this, especially as you're reading it, and a couple things come to mind. One, this is very like Gordon Gekko-esque.
Yeah.
This is very like
Wall Street.
Yeah, very much so. And I think kind of the second thing that comes to mind is it's also very somewhere between self-help and further down in it, as far as like through strength I gain power. From that point forward, I think it also has kind of an echo of a lot of recovery material for persons struggling with compulsion, addiction, things like that. But you do bring up a valid question. Like, so what's so bad? What's so bad about this motto? If you were to make this your Australian religion,
Right.
what's so bad about that? Several things.
What? What?
Several things. Yeah, I think that obviously this is the dark side of the moon, right? It's the converse of the Jedi Creed.
Yes.
And in being it, that peace is a lie. There's only passion. I just don't buy that. If you buy that, then you buy that there is no peace.
Yeah.
Right? Because there can be peace unless you buy that peace is a lie.
Yeah.
So if you buy that peace is a lie, then you fooled yourself into believing that. So therefore, you will probably never accept that peace will come because you're continually fighting against that.
Yeah.
And then through there, and Bex, you brought up some stuff, I believe, off air a little bit, but we have other examples, right? That this leads to actions that maybe aren't exactly what we would call life-giving. Right. So Bex, go ahead and just touch on that because you brought that up off air.
Yeah. Well, are the Sith so bad? We were talking about that a little bit off air, and it was just Anakin, when he turns, he destroys a temple full of younglings.
Right.
Yeah.
He commits genocide on this whole group of children.
Right.
Typically, when you kill children,
You're not a good person.
It is a bad thing. One of the things that stands out for me is that first line where it says there is only passion. Well, if there's only passion, that means you are a slave to your appetites.
Yeah.
So whatever it is you feel at that moment, you have the right to do.
Right.
Well, and you're leading into what I want to touch on because I think you're getting right to the heart of it. And obviously, I know I'm asking the question, what's so bad about the Sith? I know there's something bad about the Sith, but
that's why there's
it's
the
just
Sith.
good. It's good podcasting, man. But one of the things that if you look at the Sith Creed, you have the first line, peace is a lie, there's only passion. And brilliant point that, well, then your truth is your passion.
At any given moment.
If you're passionate about murder or money,
right?
If that's your passion, then do it. That's. But if you go through the next series of lines, it's through passion I gain strength, through strength I gain power,
right?
Through power I gain victory, through victory it is so self-focused and narcissistic. It is all about you. Where you go to the Jedi Code.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I was taking a selfie. What?
Put the camera down.
I wasn't paying attention. I was thinking.
But the Jedi Code is there is no emotion, there is peace, which is just in that statement, there is peace. There's a connotation that it's more than one party. Right. You have, there is no ignorance, there is knowledge, there is no passion, there is serenity, there is no chaos, there is harmony. There is no death. There is the Force. Now, obviously, Yoda talks about the Jedi and their pride. In the Rebels episode that was so brilliant this past season. Where he kind of was we lost our way. It's almost like they lost the code.
Yeah.
They lacked humility.
Right.
And I think humility when the Jedi are functioning properly. Humility, and I think in some ways you see it really embodied in Obi-Wan. Especially we wrote an article recently on the site where we talk about his long suffering, and Devin, you wrote a series on him mentoring Luke.
Right.
And so, you look at the Jedi Code, there's this hint in the language. It doesn't come out and spell it out, but there's a hint in the language that it's about others.
Right.
Whereas with the Sith, it is about me.
Right.
And it's about what I want. And I think fundamentally that's the big problem.
Right.
I don't know. Any other thoughts? I wanted to share some actual quotes from Sith Lords.